Hi, welcome to Mythology and the Milky Way, celebrating the stories of the sky. My name is Callie Tescher. I attend Minnesota State University in Moorhead, Minnesota. Currently, I am a senior, and my major is Communication Arts and Literature Education. That is just a fancy way of saying English education. And I've been working at the MSUM Planetarium with Dr. Sara Schultz for about 3 years now. During my time at the planetarium, I have done many different kinds of tasks. I've participated in event planning, show writing, creating shows, giving shows, many different aspects of planetarium. And I've been given a lot of freedom to do some fun things with shows. And I'd like to share with you guys some of the ideas I've had and how they have played out in our planetarium. Now, my initial idea for this presentation was that I found that a lot of people believed that the planetarium was only a place for science. Obviously, we are very connected to science in the planetarium. We love celebrating science, scientific discovery, scientific history, and I love hearing about science. And I think it's a wonderful thing that we are an establishment that celebrates science so much, and I love working there. However, I wanted to challenge the idea that the planetarium was only a place for science. I found a lot of people I talked to and a lot of friends I had in my English department really didn't know what the planetarium was used for and didn't think it would really interest them to go to a show about science. So I wanted to challenge the idea that only shows about science could happen in the planetarium. And I wanted to see if we could bring in a new audience to the planetarium by changing up how we use our space and what kind of shows we present. So my approach and my idea for this was that I wanted to incorporate more mythological storytelling into existing planetarium shows and also by making new shows. Now, some of these shows contain elements of pop culture, while other ones rely on a more traditional approach to mythology. And we have had some wonderful results. Now, we've had several successful projects going forward with this approach. The first one I'd like to mention today is Skies Over Hogwarts, which is our Harry Potter themed show. Now, you might be asking yourself, what does Harry Potter have to do with mythology? And the answer is plenty. So, the Harry Potter show takes you on a tour of the night sky, pointing out different constellations and different objects in the sky that are related to mythology and to the Harry Potter series, Bridging the Gap. Many of the characters that J.K. Rowling has created, as well as many of the characters or the creatures she uses in the books series, as well as some of the plot points, a lot of them have roots in Greek mythology. So by connecting first the Harry Potter series to Greek mythology, we were then able to make that leap to connecting them to our night sky and creating this wonderful show that our audience has loved. We have since been doing this show annually for a few years now, doing it a couple times a year, and we have sold out, I believe, every single time we have done the show, and we have done many shows. And so it's very exciting to see the success that this Harry Potter show has brought to our planetarium, and it's very encouraging to see how much our audience loves this show and continues to show up for this show. Now, in a similar vein, we did another show called Skies Over Camp Half-Blood, which was based on the Percy Jackson series. If you're unfamiliar about the Percy Jackson series, it is a series written by author Rick Riordan about a group of kids who have godly parents from Greek mythology. The main character is a boy whose father is Poseidon, the Greek god of the ocean, and he has a friend whose mother is Athena, and it incorporates this big group of kids who have all sorts of different godly parents, and it gives them special abilities. They also go on many adventures that are based off of Greek mythology and the Greek myths. And it was very easy then for us to take a look at those stories that exist in Rick Riordan's works and take those and look at the original myths, and then from those original myths, look at the connections we can make to our night sky. So it was very fun being able to make those connections and share them with our audience. And we were very happy with the turnout for our Skies Over Camp Half-Blood show. And We had a great time, and our audience had a great time too. With these two shows, we were lucky because there was already a pre-existing fan base for both of them, as they're both very popular book series. But it was really nice for once to bring in a audience that was less there because of their interest in science, but was brought more towards it because of their interest in the storytelling and the literature that we incorporated into it. So this allowed a new audience to come into the planetarium and see that it's not all just hard science, and hopefully they will be returning for our other shows as well. Now, the last show I have on this list is Romance Under the Stars. Now, Romance Under the Stars is a show that we have been doing for many years at the planetarium, and we like to switch it up every once in a while just to keep it fresh. Currently, Romance Under the Stars centers mostly on the different myths of love and romance that you can find connected to the night sky and constellations. So for example, we tell the story of Perseus and Andromeda, and we point out the constellations and go through the Greek myth together. And then we also incorporate different kinds of mythology, such as Roman or even Chinese mythology, into this show. And like I said, this show has been happening for a few years, and we change it up to keep it fresh, but it's always been enjoyable. It's always been a great one that's brought in a good sized audience, and it's a lot of fun to do. Another thing I've been doing that I've seen great success with in incorporating storytelling and mythology into the planetarium is that whenever I'm doing sky tours, whether that be for different school groups or weekend shows, I like to sprinkle in the myths of the constellations that we're going to for a couple of different reasons. The first one is that it's a really easy way to engage the audience and help them retain the information I'm sharing with them. It's really easy to point out a constellation, say how to find it and its name, and then just forget about it when you go home. But if we go through a story and put it in a narrative, it's much easier for our audience to remember what the constellation's name is, where they can find it, and they can also share the story with other people now that they're able to locate it in the night sky themselves. And it perpetuates that sharing of the night sky that we really love. Now, another reason I like to do this is because I find that it really engages the audience and it holds their attention much better than just going through, like I said, the location and the names of the constellations. I find that it's a lot more entertaining, and I found, especially with my younger audiences, that they really love hearing the stories and rather than just looking at the pictures in the sky, basically. So I have found much success incorporating different elements of mythological storytelling into our pre-existing shows, and it has definitely shown us what kind of audiences we can bring in by using these different kinds of shows, and what kind of freedoms we have to create new shows and to push those norms that we have pre-existing. Now, with that in mind, I do have several future endeavors I would like to incorporate into our planetarium. One of them is a multicultural myth show. Now, I have done research for this show, and I've also outlined the show, so it is in the works. But this show is going to center on several different kinds of mythologies. Most commonly in the planetarium, we tend to focus on the mythologies of Greek and Roman mythology, because those are the ones that they're all named for, right? The official constellations are mostly named for Greek myths, and our planets are named after the pantheon of Roman gods and goddesses. But if you look into other cultural myths, you'll find that across the world for generations, people have been looking up and tying their own cultural stories to this night sky. So you will find different myths from the American plains, from Mexico, from Norway, from Ireland, from India, from China, all over the world. All these different cultures have different stories that they have looked at the sky and tied to them. So I would really love to celebrate more of those stories in our planetarium by bringing those stories to the forefront and showing that there's more than just the ones that we're more familiar with in our planetarium. However, I would still like to go and look at our classical Greek and Roman mythologies by doing a show that centers on the constellations. Part one would be on the constellations, and that would just be going through the constellations, telling the stories behind them, and going through the seasons as well, demonstrating how to find all those constellations, what their names are, and going through their stories. And then I would like to do another show within the same series about the planets. And that would be going through all the names of the planets and the most famous myths associated with the gods that they're named after, and then also tying that to the science of the planet. I think those would both be great tools for helping our audiences retain some of the information we tell them and also entertain and engage them as we do. So with that, thank you guys so much for watching. I would love to hear from you guys if you have any questions at all for me. If you'd like to contact me, my name again is Callie Tescher. You can email me at my school email at callie.tescher or callie.tescher@, go.mnstate.edu. And you can also reach out to Dr. Sara Schultz. Her email is schultz@mnstate.edu. Again, I am a senior this year, so I will not be around for too much longer at Minnesota State University in Moorhead. So if at any point in the future I am unavailable, please reach out to Dr. Schultz, and hopefully together we can get you guys some answers if you're looking for any of those. But thank you again so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.